Hi guys, welcome to Know Math. My name is Sir Bench Antonio. And on this video, we will discuss the sum and product of the roots of quadratic equation. This lesson is intended for high school mathematics, especially for grade 9 students. And if you are not yet subscribed on my channel, kindly hit like and subscribe for more of my videos. There's what we call a relationship between the coefficients and the roots of the given quadratic equation. So let's say that the standard form of the given quadratic equation is ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. And let us let x sub 1 be our first solution, which is m, and x sub 2 be our second solution, which is n. If we're going to make it a factors of the given quadratic equation, that is x minus m times x minus n is equal to 0. And we need to make it a standard form of a quadratic equation using the FOIL method. X times x is x squared. X times negative n is negative nx. Negative m times x is negative mx. And negative m times n is positive mn. That is equal to 0. So let us combine like terms. We have now x squared minus m plus n x plus mn is equal to 0. And let us rephrase the standard form of a quadratic equation that we need to divide all terms into a. So ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. Divide all by a. Then cancel. So there we have x squared plus b over ax plus c over a is equal to 0. And that shows the sum and product of the roots. That we have here the sum of the roots, which is negative, and it is the same with b over a. So we can say that the first root added to the second root is equal to the negative b over a. And we have here the product of the roots, which is m times n, and it is equivalent to c over a. So the product of the roots x sub 1 times x sub 2 is equal to c over a. So we will use this for us to form a quadratic equation using the roots of the given equation or vice versa. Let us have an example. Determine the sum and product of the roots of the given quadratic equation. Take note that our formula for the sum of the roots is equal to negative b over a, and for the product is c over a. So we have to know the values of our a, which is 3, b, which is negative 1, and letter c, which is positive 6. So the sum is x sub 1 plus x sub 2 is equal to negative b over a. That our b is negative 1 over your a is 3. Therefore, negative times negative, that will give us a positive. This is now the sum of the given quadratic equation. How about the product? The product is x sub 1 multiplied by the x sub 2 is equal to c over a. That our c is 6 and our a is 3. That 6 divided by 3 is equal to 2. So therefore, the product of the roots is 2. So we have now the sum of 1/3 and the product of 2 of the two roots of the given quadratic equation. Another example, 5x squared plus 2x plus 3 is equal to 0. Let us determine the sum and product of the roots of the given quadratic equation. So again, know your A value, your B value, and your C value. We have positive 5, positive 2 for B, and positive 3 for letter C. So, get the sum of the roots first, negative B over 8. Your B is 2, and your A is 5. And that is the sum of the roots. The product of the roots, x sub 1 times x sub 2 is equal to C over A. Your C value is 3, your A value is 5. So, that is already our product of the roots. As simple as that. How about if we need to determine the quadratic equation given the roots and we need to find the values of A, B, and C. So we have the formula of the sum of the roots, negative B over A, and the product of the roots of C over A. And after getting the sum of the roots, we will substitute it to the given quadratic equation or the standard form of the quadratic equation. And the product of the roots, which is C over A, substitute to the third term for us to have the quadratic equation. So how are we going to do it? The sum of the roots, x sub 1 plus x sub 2. Since x sub 1 is negative 4 plus the x sub 2, which is positive 6, that will give us positive 2 for the sum of the roots. The product of the roots, x sub 1 times x sub 2, which is negative 4 multiplied by positive 6, we have negative 24. And we now use it to the sum on the middle term and the product on the last term. That the quadratic equation is x squared minus 2x for the sum plus the product of negative 24 or simply minus 24 is equal to 0. Now, what are the values of A, B, and C? Your A here is 1, your B is negative 2, and your C is negative 24. That is how to convert given the roots and to determine the quadratic equation. Another example, we have here two roots and one of the roots is a fraction. So your first root is 2/3 and your second root is negative 1. So for us to have the quadratic equation, let us get the sum of the roots, x sub 1 plus x sub 2. We have 2/3 plus negative 1. Or basically, that is 2/3 minus 1. So, get their LCD. Since the LCD is 3, we need to divide 3 by 3, which is 1, and then multiplied by 2. And that is 2. Since we do not have denominator of the second root, that is 1. So let us divide 3 by 1, and that will give us 3 multiplied by negative 1, and that is negative 3. So evaluate the numerator through 2 minus 3, and that is negative 1/3. And that is the sum of the roots. The product of the roots, x sub 1 times x sub 2, is 2/3 multiplied by negative 1. Simply, we have negative 2/3, and that is the product of the roots. And again, substitute the sum and the product that we got. So we have x squared. Since this is a negative and the sum is a negative, so negative times negative, that will give us a positive 1/3 x followed by x. Then plus the product, which is negative 2/3. So we have to subtract 2/3 equals 0. Since that we have the same denominator, we will multiply all by 3. 3 times x squared is 3x squared. 3 times 1/3, that will give us 1, or simply x. 3 times negative 2/3, that is negative 2, and it is equal to 0. And what are the values of a, b, and c? A is 3, b is 1, and your c is negative 2. Okay, how about this one? Determine the quadratic equation of the given its root to find the values of a, b, c. That the first root is negative 1/3 and the second root is negative 1/2. Both fraction. So x sub 1 plus x sub 2, we have negative 1/3 minus 1/2. So again, get the LCD. The LCD of 3 and 2 is 6. So first, divided by 3 and then multiply by negative 1. 6 divided by 3 is 2 times negative 1 is negative 2. Next one, divided by 2 and then multiply by negative 1. 6 divided by 2 is 3 times negative 1 is negative 3. And then evaluate the numerator, negative 2 minus 3, that will give us negative 5 over 6. And that is the sum. The product, x sub 1 times x sub 2. We have negative 1/3 for x sub 1 times negative 1/2 for x sub 2. We all know that if we are going to multiply two fractions, we just need to multiply the numerators and multiply the denominators. First, negative times negative is a positive number. 1 times 1 is 1, and 3 times 2 is 6. This is now the product. Substitute the sum and product to the formula of the equation. X squared, since negative again for our sum. So negative times negative is a positive 5 over 6x. Then add the product, which is 1/6 plus 1/6 equals 0. So for us to eliminate the fraction, multiply both sides by 6 as we have the same denominator of 6. Right? So 6 times x squared is x squared. 6 times 5/6 is 5 followed by x. 6 times 1/6 is 1. Sorry, this is 6x squared is equal to 0. And there, we can now have a, which is 6, b, which is 5, and c is 1. Right? Next example. We have some roots that are irrational. Say for example, this example 4, the first root is 5 plus the square root of 3. And the second root is 5 minus the square root of 3. So for us to form a quadratic equation, let us add first the roots to get the sum of the roots. X sub 1 plus x sub 2. We have 5 plus the square root of 3 plus 5 minus square root of 3. We just need to combine like terms. 5 plus 5, that is 10. Positive square root of 3 and a negative square root of 3 is 0. Therefore, the sum is 10. How about the product? X sub 1 times x sub 2. X sub 1 is 5 plus square root of 3 multiplied by 5 minus square root of 3. So, since it is a binomial, we need to use the FOIL method. So, first, 5 times 5, 25. 5 times negative square root of 3 is negative 5 square root of 3. We cannot combine because they are different. Positive square root of 3 times 5 is positive 5 square root of 3. And positive square root of 3 times negative square root of 3 is negative square root of 9. So this one we can combine because they are the same irrational number. So let us simplify. 25 negative 5 square root of 3 plus positive 5 square root of 3 are like terms, so this is 0. And negative square root of 9, take note that square root of 9 is 3. So we have now negative 3. The 25 minus 3 is equal to 22. This is now the product of the roots. So let us substitute it for us to have the quadratic equation. X squared. Let us add the sum or subtract the sum of the roots, which is 10x, and add the product of the roots, which is 22, is equal to 0. So there, we can now have a value, which is 1, b value, which is negative 10, and the c value, which is 22. Another example, we also have this kind of complex number. So the first root is 1 plus the square root of 7 over 2, and the other root is 1 minus the square root of 7 over 2. So for us to have quadratic equation, let us get the sum of the roots. X plus 1 plus x sub 1 plus x sub 2 is equal to 1 plus square root of 7 over 2 is plus 1 minus the square root of 7 over 2. Since it is a fraction, get their LCD, which is 2. So 2 divided by 2 is 1 times 1 plus the square root of 7 is still 1 plus the square root of 7. Then add 2 divided by 2 is 1 times 1 minus the square root of 7 is still 1 minus the square root of 7. So observe that 1 plus 1 is 2. And positive square root of 7 and negative square root of 7 is 0. And divided by 2, therefore we have 1 for the sum of the roots. How about the product of the roots? The product of the roots, the same thing, 1 plus the square root of 7 over 2 multiplied by 1 minus the square root of 7 over 2. So again, multiply the numerators. Since it is a binomial, we will going to use the FOIL method again. That we will have 1 times 1 is 1. 1 times square root of 7 is negative square root of 7. 7 times 1 is, square root of 7 times 1 is square root of 7. And positive square root of 7 times negative square root of 7 is negative square root of 49. All over, multiply the denominators, which is 4. 2 times 2 is 4. So this one will be 0. And that, the square root of 49 is 7. So we have 1 minus 7 all over 4. 1 minus 7 is negative 6 over 4. Simplify the fraction. We have negative 3 halves. Alright? So we will now use the sum and product for us to have our quadratic equation. So x squared minus x, as simply the sum is 1, so we don't need to write 1, and minus 3 over 2 is equal to 0. We still have the denominator, so we need to multiply all by 2 for us to eliminate the denominator. 2 times x squared is 2x squared. 2 times negative x is negative 2x. And 2 times negative 3 halves is negative 3. Is equal to 0. There, we do not have a fraction anymore. And in this case, we can have now the a value of 2, the b value of negative 2, and the c value of negative 3. Okay? We also have some roots that are imaginary. Say, for example, the first root is 3 plus 4i, I for an imaginary number. And the second root is 3 minus 4i. So how are we going to form a quadratic equation using these roots? So let us add x plus 1 and x sub 1 plus x sub 2. We have 3 plus 4i plus 3 minus 4i. Take note, 3 plus 3 we can add, that is 6. And positive 4i minus 4i is 0. So this is the sum of the roots. See? Simple. X sub 1 times x sub 2 for the product of the roots. We have 3 plus 4i multiplied by 3 minus 4i. Using the FOIL method again, because it is a binomial, first 3 times 3, we have 9. 3 times 4i or negative 4i is negative 12i. 4i times 3 is positive 12i. And 4i times negative 4i is negative 16i squared. So negative 12i and positive 12i is 0. So we have now 9 and a negative 16i squared remaining. Take note, I squared is equal to a negative 1. So on the other lessons that we have, I already explained that I squared is equal to negative 1 and I itself is equal to the square root of negative 1. So since I squared can be changed by negative 1, so we can multiply negative 16 times negative 1. And that will give us now a positive 16. So 9 plus 16 is equal to 25. And this is now the product of the roots. So in that case, we can now substitute the sum and the product to the equation. X squared minus the sum is 6x plus the product of 25 is equal to 0. Therefore, we have the a value of 1, the b value of negative 6, and the c value of 25. Clear? And that is how we're going to determine the sum and product of the roots. And those are the relationship between the coefficient and the roots of the given quadratic equation. For your math challenge, guys, let us determine the quadratic equation given its roots to find the values of a, b, and c. Given the first root, 1 plus 5i divided by 3. And the second root is 1 minus 5i divided by 3. Try to solve, and if you already got the answer, just comment down below. And do not forget to hit like and subscribe for more of my videos. Thank you for watching, guys.